The stars looked peaceful through the window of the diplomatic station. Commander One stood in his dress uniform, watching the ships approach. They were beautiful vessels, silver and smooth, nothing like the rough human warships. After 3 years of small fights along the border, peace was finally coming. "They're here," said his intelligence officer. She stood beside him, her face tight with worry. "Sir, I still think something is wrong." One looked at her. Was the person he knew, but today she seemed too worried. "We've checked everything twice. They want peace as much as we do." "Maybe," said quietly. She didn't look convinced. The ambassador arrived an hour later. Supreme Chancellor R was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. He smiled with too many teeth. "Commander One," he said in perfect English, "today we make history." The treaty signing took place in the Grand Hall of Meridian 7 Station. Diplomats from both sides filled the room. Captain Wu Jin stood at attention behind One, proud in his uniform. Young Bin, the engineering genius who kept their ships running, watched from the human section with wide eyes. "This treaty will bring prosperity to both our peoples," R announced. "We ask only for friendship and open trade routes." One signed the document. The pen felt heavy in his hand. Around him, people cheered. Earth had wanted this peace badly. Too many soldiers had died in the border skirmishes. Too many families had lost sons and daughters. "We will share navigation data for the trade routes," one said. "Our charts of the sector will help ships travel safely through human space." R's smile grew wider, most generous. The celebration lasted 3 days. Wine flowed, music played, and humans shook hands and shared stories. Only stayed quiet, watching everything with sharp eyes. On the second night, she found encrypted signals in the communications. Strange patterns that didn't match normal diplomatic traffic. She brought her findings to One. "It's probably just their military checking in," one said, tired from the celebrations. "We do the same thing." "Sir, these patterns—" "We just made peace. Don't look for war where there isn't any." She left his office with her jaw tight. One felt bad for dismissing her, but he was so tired of fighting. 3 years of war had worn him down. He wanted to believe in this peace. The human fleet returned home to celebrations on every colony. New through a parade. Haven's Gate lit up their orbital stations with fireworks. Earth itself declared a holiday. Finally, after years of fear, people could sleep safely. One visited his family on Earth. His mother cried with happiness. His father, an old soldier himself, shook his hand with pride. "You brought us peace, son." But peace didn't last long. 3 months after the treaty signing, One woke to alarms screaming through his ship. The Indomitable shook from weapons fire. He ran to the bridge in his sleeping clothes, his heart pounding. "Report," he shouted. Wu Jin was already at the weapons station, his face pale. "Ships, sir. Hundreds of them. They're attacking New Haven's Gate and 15 other colonies. It's coordinated. They knew exactly where to hit." One's blood went cold. The navigation data. "Sir, they used everything we gave them. They know our defenses, our patrol routes, everything." Wu Jin's voice shook with rage. The treaty was a lie. The screen showed the horror. Warships hammered human colonies with heavy weapons. Stations exploded in silent flowers of fire. Ships that tried to fight back were destroyed in seconds. They had been planning this for a long time. "Where's?" one demanded. "Here, sir," stepped onto the bridge. Unlike everyone else, she looked calm, deadly calm. "I kept our defensive protocols active. I never trusted them. The Indomitable is ready to fight." One wanted to hug her and curse himself at the same time. She had been right. She had tried to warn him. "Get us to New," he ordered. "Maximum speed." They were too late. By the time the Indomitable arrived, New was burning. The beautiful colony where one had walked in the parade just months ago was now a graveyard. Bodies floated in space. The orbital stations were shattered metal and broken dreams. Survivors, one asked, his voice barely a whisper. Bin checked her console, tears running down her face. Maybe a few thousand, sir. There were 2 million people on New. The bridge fell silent except for the beeping of instruments and the quiet sound of people crying. Reports came in through the day. Haven's gate was completely destroyed. The outer colonies fell one by one. 12 colonies lost in 48 hours. Families, homes, entire worlds gone. They had used the peace treaty to study humanity, to learn their weaknesses, to position their fleets perfectly. And humanity had given them everything they needed to do it. Admiral's reserve fleet joined them at the emergency meeting point. General Jinho arrived with what was left of the Marine forces. They gathered in a secure channel, their faces grim. They want us to surrender, said. R sent a message. He says if we surrender now, they'll let Earth survive. He's lying, said flatly. They've been planning this for decades. I found the proof in their old communications. They want everything. Our worlds, our resources, our people as slaves. One looked at the faces on his screen. These were his friends, his fellow officers, the people who trusted him. He had led them into this trap. I'm sorry, he said. I should have listened. We all wanted peace, Jinho said. They used that against us. So what do we do? Wujin asked. We can't beat them in a straight fight. They have more ships, better weapons, and they've already taken our colonies. One thought about his mother crying with happiness, about the parade on New, about 2 million people who died because he wanted to believe in peace. Something changed inside him. The part that wanted peace died with those colonies. In its place grew something cold and hard. We fight, he said, but not the way they expect. They wanted a war without honor, so we'll give them a war without mercy. They deceived us, used our trust as a weapon. Now we show them what humanity does to those who betray us. Sir asked. One's eyes were like ice. We're going to take everything they have. Every ship, every world, every piece of technology they've built in 3,000 years. We're going to tear down their empire stone by stone. And when we're done, the galaxy will know never to deceive humanity again. The others stared at him. Then one by one they nodded. The war had just begun, and they had no idea what they had awakened. The fortress world of Adamant Prime had never seen so many ships. Human vessels from every corner of space gathered there, damaged and limping but still alive. One stood in the command center, watching the fleet grow. Each ship brought more survivors, more stories of horror, more rage. Worked at her station without sleeping. She had been right about and now she searched through every piece of data they had. Sir, look at this, she said, pulling up old communications. They have been planning this invasion for 30 years. They studied us, learned our language, and waited for the right moment. 30 years, one repeated. The number made him sick. While humanity thought they were just having border disputes, they had been preparing to destroy them. General Jinho arrived with his Marines. He was a big man with scars on his face and anger in his eyes. My people want to fight, he said. They don't want to run anymore. We're not running, one assured him. We're planning. The unified Earth government called an emergency meeting. Leaders from every human world appeared on screens around the room. Some wanted to surrender. They argued that humanity couldn't win against the Empire. They have 1,000 worlds, one leader said. We have what, 50? They've been building their military for 3,000 years. We've been at peace until 3 years ago. Peace? Jinho slammed his fist on the table. They killed 2.4 million of our people in 2 days. They're not offering real peace now. They want slaves. One stood up. Everyone fell silent. They think we're weak because we wanted peace. They think our kindness means we can't fight. They used our trust as a weapon and our mercy as a weakness. He paused, looking at each leader. They were wrong. They wanted a war without honor, so we'll give them a war without mercy. How? Someone asked. We can't match their fleet size. "We don't need to match them," said a new voice. Dr. Me entered the room carrying a data pad. She was small and young, but her eyes burned with intelligence. "I've been studying the technology we captured. Their ships are bigger and have stronger weapons, yes, but they're slower." She pulled up charts on the main screen. "Our jump drives are actually faster than their hyperspace engines. We just never traveled as far because we didn't need to. They also never expected our artificial intelligence systems. We've been running war simulations for decades. Our AI can adapt and learn in real time. Theirs follows strict programming." "What does that mean?" a leader asked. "It means we can outthink them," Me said simply. "They've been fighting the same way for 3,000 years. We can change tactics every battle." Added more information. "Their military has a strict hierarchy. Orders come from the top down. If we cut off their command, the lower ranks don't know what to do. Our forces are trained to think independently." Captain Woojin had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "There's something else. I've been talking to the Marines. Soldiers are physically weaker than humans. They evolved on a low-gravity world. Our Marines train on Earth, which has higher gravity. In ground combat, one human can match 3. Bin, the young engineer, added her own discovery. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, not physical projectiles. We still use rail guns and missiles. They think we're primitive for using them, but those weapons will go right through their shields." One listened to all of this, his mind working. They were still and outnumbered, but they had advantages, real advantages. Another officer, a cyber warfare specialist named Yang, entered with urgent news. "Sir, I've been analyzing their communication networks. They use quantum encryption, very secure, but I found something. They never changed their military codes after the treaty. They didn't think they needed to." "Can you break in?" one asked. "Already did," Yang said with a small smile. "I can see everything they're sending. Troop movements, supply lines, battle plans. They have no idea we're watching." The mood in the room changed. Humanity had been hurt badly, but they weren't beaten. They had speed, adaptability, better AI, stronger soldiers, and now they had intelligence on enemy movements. "We have one more advantage," Admiral said. She was older than the others, with gray in her hair and wisdom in her eyes. "They think this war is already won. They're moving to occupy our colonies, not to fight. They've spread their forces thin across 12 worlds. They're not expecting a counterattack." One saw it then. The whole plan came together in his mind like pieces of a puzzle. "We're not going to defend," he said slowly. "We're going to attack. We're going to take back what they stole, and then we're going to take everything they have." "Explain," a government leader demanded. "They wanted our colonies for resources and position. They think we'll hide and slowly surrender. Instead, we hit them hard and fast. We take back our colonies one by one, using our speed advantage. Every time we win, we take their equipment, their supplies, their intelligence. We grow stronger while they grow weaker." "And then," Jinho asked, leaning forward, "then we invade their space. We take their colonies, their resources, their technology, everything they built over 3,000 years. We dismantle their empire piece by piece." The room was silent for a long moment. Then one of the government leaders spoke. "That's not just defense, that's conquest." "They started this war with lies and treachery," one said coldly. "They killed millions of our people. If we only defend, we'll lose. They have too many resources, too many ships, but if we take everything they have, they can't fight back. This isn't about revenge. This is about survival. It's also about making sure no one ever tries this again," added quietly. "Every alien species in the galaxy is watching. If we just defend and accept a negotiated peace, others will see that humanity can be attacked with impunity. But if we show that betraying us means total destruction, no one will ever deceive us again." The unified Earth government voted. It took 6 hours of debate. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Total mobilization, total war. They would not stop until the empire was dust. One called his commanders together that night. They stood around a holographic map of the sector. "We start with Nu," he said, pointing to a colony world that had been captured but not destroyed. "It's defended but not heavily. They think it's secure. We hit them fast, reclaim the colony, and prove to our people that we can win." "When?" Wujin asked. "Tomorrow." Bin's eyes went wide. "Tomorrow, sir, we need time to prepare to." "They think we're broken and scared," one interrupted. "They're celebrating their victory right now. Tomorrow we show them that humanity doesn't break. We adapt, we overcome, and we take everything from those who wrong us." The commanders nodded, one by one. They dispersed to their ships to prepare, only remained with one. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for being right, for keeping the defenses active. You saved us." "I wish I'd been wrong," replied. "But since I wasn't, let's make them pay for what they did." One looked at the map, at the empire spreading across hundreds of stars. It looked impossible, but humanity had always been good at doing the impossible. They had deceived them in war. Now they would learn what that truly cost. The human fleet dropped out of jump space right on top of Nu. The garrison had no warning. One moment they controlled a peaceful occupied colony. The next moment, 300 human warships appeared and opened fire. Captain Wujin commanded the vanguard from his ship, the Thunder. "All ships spread formation. Don't give them a single target. Bin, activate the Ghost Protocol." Across the fleet, 40 small ships disappeared from sensors. Bin's new stealth technology bent sensor waves around the ships, making them invisible. They had never seen anything like it. "They're confused," Yang reported from his cyber warfare station. "I'm reading their communications. They're asking their commanders what to do. The commanders are asking the high command. No one's making decisions." That was the weakness had found. They couldn't think for themselves. They needed orders from above. Human captains could adapt on their own. Wu Jin saw the opening. All ships wolf-pack tactics. Groups of 5 hunt their big ships, use the rail guns. The human ships moved like sharks, fast and deadly. Groups of smaller vessels surrounded single battleships. Rail guns fired physical projectiles at incredible speeds. The shells went right through the energy shields and tore through their armor. "Direct hit on enemy battleship 1, someone reported. "She's breaking apart." "Enemy battleship 2 is trying to run," another voice called. "Ghost ships are in pursuit." The invisible ships fired missiles into the fleeing battleship's engines. It exploded in a ball of fire. On the ground, General Jinho led the Marines in drop pods. They fell from orbit like meteors, landing hard in the middle of Nu's capital city. The garrison tried to fight back, but they were slow and weak. Jinho's Marines moved through the streets like a storm. Each human soldier wore power armor that made them even stronger. The soldiers, used to low gravity, couldn't keep up. They fell back, trying to regroup. "Push forward," Jinho ordered. "Don't give them time to think." A commander tried to organize a defense at the government building. He set up weapons and shields, preparing for a long fight. But Jinho didn't do what they expected. "Yang, can you get into their building systems?" Jinho asked over the radio. "Already in," Yang replied from orbit. "What do you need?" "Turn off their gravity generators." The building's artificial gravity shut off. Soldiers floated helplessly in the air, unable to fight. Human Marines, trained to fight in zero gravity, moved through the building easily. The battle was over in minutes. By the end of the day, Nu was back in human hands. The garrison surrendered. Wu Jin accepted their surrender from orbit, then did something that shocked them. "You will leave Nu," Wu Jin told the commander. "Take your wounded and go. Tell your leaders what happened here." "You're letting us go?" they asked in disbelief. "We're not monsters like you," Wu Jin replied. "But tell your high command this. Nu is just the beginning. We're coming for everything you took from us and everything you have." The ships fled. The human soldiers on news celebrated. They had won their first battle, but one knew this was only the start. Over the next 3 months, humanity reclaimed all 12 lost colonies. Each battle went faster than the last. The human forces learned and adapted. They kept making the same mistakes. Dr. Me studied every piece of technology they captured. "Their equipment is advanced but inflexible," she explained to one. "It's designed to do one thing very well. Our equipment is less advanced but can be modified quickly. We're like water, we adapt to any container." Ben took Me's research and made human ships even better. She combined human and technology in new ways. The stealth ships got better. The weapons hit harder. The shields grew stronger. Admiral managed the supply lines, making sure every ship and soldier had what they needed. She was a master of logistics. While the supply lines stretched thin and broke, human supplies arrived exactly where and when they were needed. "The Empire never had to fight a real war," explained. "They conquered weaker species. They don't know how to fight an equal enemy. We're teaching them the hard way." Yang's cyber warfare became crucial. He didn't just spy on communications anymore. He actively disrupted them. He sent false orders to fleets, making them go to the wrong places. He locked soldiers out of their own weapons systems. He made them paranoid, never knowing if their computers would work. "I'm in their heads now," Yang said with satisfaction. "They don't trust their own technology anymore." After 6 months of fighting, humanity stood at the border of their own space. Every lost colony was reclaimed. The forces were pushed back, but one didn't stop. "Now we invade their territory," he announced to his commanders. "Sir, the government wants us to negotiate peace," a diplomatic officer said. "They are sending envoys. They want to talk about a treaty." One's face turned to ice. "Send the envoys back with this message. You taught us that treaties mean nothing." The diplomatic officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, some people say we're going too far, that we're becoming like the—" Stood up, her voice sharp. "The committed genocide. They lied and killed millions of civilians. We're fighting soldiers. We're following the rules of war even though they didn't. Don't compare us to them." Jinho added, "Every soldier we fight gets a chance to surrender. Every colony we take, we treat the civilians fairly. They showed no mercy. We're still being merciful. We're just not being stupid anymore." Wu Jin pulled up a tactical map. "Besides, if we stop now, they will rebuild and attack again in 10 years. They have too many resources, too many worlds. The only way to truly end this war is to make sure they can never threaten us again." "Which means taking everything," one said. "Their worlds, their technology, their resources. We dismantle their empire completely. It's not revenge, it's security." The commanders agreed. The invasion of space began. The first colony fell in a week. The second fell in 3 days. By the third colony, the civilians started surrendering before the fighting even began. They heard stories of how humans treated prisoners fairly, how human soldiers didn't hurt civilians, how the occupied colonies got food and medicine. It confused the people. Their government had told them humans were barbarians, but the humans acted with more honor than their own military had. Revolts broke out on some worlds. Citizens who were tired of war protested against their own government. The High Command tried to stop the protests with force, but that only made things worse. "They're falling apart," reported. "The Empire is 3,000 years old, but it's built on fear and lies. Now that we've shown they're not invincible, their own people are turning against them." One watched the Empire crack like old glass. They had started this war thinking humanity was weak. They had used lies and treachery. Now they were learning the cost of that mistake. "Send a message to all worlds," one ordered. "Any world that surrenders peacefully will be treated fairly. Any world that fights will be conquered but not destroyed. Any world that harms civilians in our name will face justice. We don't lie." The message spread across space. More worlds surrendered. The military tried to hold the line, but their own people wouldn't fight anymore. In his command ship, one looked at the map of space. Red markers showed worlds under human control. There were many more to go, but for the first time since the war began, he felt something like hope. Humanity was winning, and they were doing it the right way. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Occupation Fleet flagship, looking at the list of captured worlds. 47 planets. Each one had factories, shipyards, mining operations, and research facilities. Each one represented centuries of development and trillions in value. "Begin the harvest," one ordered. The harvest was humanity's systematic seizure of everything the Empire had built. It wasn't destruction. It was taking. Every useful piece of technology, every resource deposit, every bit of infrastructure would become human property. Dr. Me led teams of scientists to each captured world. They cataloged everything. Advanced medical equipment that could cure diseases humanity still struggled with. Quantum computers powerful enough to simulate entire solar systems. Terraforming technology that could turn dead rocks into garden worlds. "It's incredible," Me told one during a report. "They had technology that's centuries ahead of ours, but here's the disturbing part, most of it isn't theirs. They stole it." She pulled up records from a database. 3,000 years ago, they were barely spacefaring. Then they found an ancient alien library on a dead world. Inside were the scientific secrets of dozens of extinct civilizations. They didn't invent their technology. They it. "So they built their empire on stolen knowledge," said, studying the data. "That's fitting." "There's more," Me continued. "The conquered species weaker than them took their best technology, then wiped out their cultures. Everything they have is stolen. They're thieves who became rich from theft." One felt no guilt about taking assets after learning this. "Then we're just taking back what they stole from others. Continue the harvest." On each occupied world, human teams worked with military precision. They identified industrial facilities and seized them intact. They mapped resource deposits and claimed them. They found energy production plants and took control. They watched their empire being picked apart like a machine being disassembled for parts. But something unexpected happened. Many civilians started helping. On the industrial world of 7, a factory manager approached Admiral. "I want to make a deal," he said nervously. Speak replied. "My factory makes quantum processors. Very valuable. I know you're going to take it anyway. But if you let me keep running it, I can increase production by 30%. You get more processors and my workers keep their jobs." "Considered this, why would you help us?" The manager's face twisted with anger. "The High Command sent my son to die in their stupid war. They lied to us, told us humans were weak and would surrender in days. My son died in the first battle at Nu. The High Command never cared about us. They only cared about power, so why should I be loyal to them?" Made the deal. The factory stayed open, now producing for humanity. Other civilians saw this and came forward with similar offers. Engineers, scientists, administrators, all willing to work with the humans rather than fight. "They're abandoning their own government," reported. "The people are tired of being used. The High Command treated them like tools. We're treating them like people. They notice the difference." General Jin Ho's peacekeeping forces found themselves dealing more with infrastructure repair than combat. On one world, they helped fix a water treatment plant that the military had damaged while retreating. The local population was grateful. "This is weird," one Marine told Jinho. "We're supposed to be conquering them, but we're helping them." "We're showing them what good government looks like," Jinho replied. "The High Command only took from their people. We're taking from the Empire but giving to the people. It makes them loyal to us instead of their old leaders." Bin worked on integrating technology into human systems. It was challenging. Engineering was elegant but fragile. Human engineering was rough but reliable. She found ways to combine the best of both. "Look at this," she showed one. "Shields are powerful but drain a lot of energy. Human shields are weaker but efficient. I combined the designs. Now we have powerful shields that don't drain the engines." "How long until the fleet can be upgraded?" one asked. 3 months for full deployment, but sir, there's something else." Bin pulled up a schematic. "We found shipyards, massive facilities that can build capital ships. They're more advanced than anything we have." "I know," one said. "We're taking those too." "Sir, I mean we should start using them now. Build our own ships using technology. In a year, we could have a fleet twice the size with ships twice as powerful." One smiled. "Do it." Yang discovered something else during his digital infiltration. "Sir, the High Command has a backup plan. They're building a weapon on their prime. It's called the Extinction Array." "What does it do?" asked. "It kills all life on a planet from orbit. Not just humans, all life. Plants, animals, microbes, everything. They're planning to use it on Earth if we get too close to prime." The room fell silent. This was at their core, willing to commit genocide rather than lose. "How long until it's operational?" one asked, his voice cold. 6 months, maybe 7. It's a huge project, but they're rushing it. Then we have 6 months to take the rest of their empire and reach prime. One looked at his commanders. "Accelerate the harvest. I want every world, every station, every ship. The want to destroy Earth. We'll make sure they never get the chance." The pace of conquest increased. Human forces swept through space like a wave. More worlds surrendered without fighting. The ones that resisted fell quickly. The military was collapsing. Dr. Me made an inventory of what humanity had taken so far. 147 star systems. Advanced technology worth centuries of research. Resources that would take us 500 years to mine at our old rate. 3,000 years of scientific data and history. 23 shipyards. 41 research stations. And we're not done yet. "What about the people?" one asked. "That's the interesting part," Me said. "On the occupied worlds, life is actually better than before. We provide food, medicine, and fair treatment. Crime is down. Production is up. The younger especially prefer human administration. They say it's less corrupt." Added her analysis. "The empire was rotten from the inside. The High Command took everything for themselves and gave nothing back. When we removed them and provided basic services, the people prospered. We're not conquerors to them. We're liberators." "Don't let it go to our heads," one warned. "We're still at war. The High Command still has their doomsday weapon. Until we take that, this war isn't over." General Jinho agreed. "And we can't forget why we're doing this. They killed 2.4 million humans with lies and treachery. Justice hasn't been served until their government falls completely." Admiral began planning the final assault on Prime. "It's the most defended world in their empire. Every remaining warship will be there. This will be the biggest battle of the war." "Good," one said. "Let them gather all their forces in one place. We'll end this war in one final battle." The harvest continued. Every day humanity grew stronger while they grew weaker. Every day brought them closer to Prime and the final reckoning. They had started this war thinking they would take everything humanity had. Instead, humanity was taking everything they had built over 3,000 years, and they were taking it methodically, completely, leaving nothing behind. This was the price of treachery. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the Prime system. 1,000 warships, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Commander One looked at the enemy formation ahead. Every surviving warship defended there. 3,000 ships surrounded Prime like a steel wall. The extinction array sat on the planet's surface, a massive weapon pointed at the stars. "They're sending a message," reported. "Supreme Chancellor R wants to negotiate." Put him on screen, one ordered. R appeared and he looked different now. His proud bearing was gone. He looked tired and afraid. Commander 1, this war has gone on long enough. Let us talk peace. You wanted to talk peace once before, one replied coldly. That talk killed 2.4 million of my people. That was a mistake, R said carefully. We can make a new treaty, a real one this time. Why should humanity believe anything you say? Captain Wujin asked. Because we have the extinction array, R said, his voice hardening. It's aimed at Earth right now. If you attack, we fire, your dies. Billions of humans dead. You cannot win. One smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Yang, show him. Yang's face appeared on a split screen. Hello, Chancellor. I've been in your computer systems for the past month. The extinction array, I control it now. It's not pointed at Earth. It's pointed at Prime, your own planet. R's face went white. That's impossible. You should have changed your security codes, Yang said cheerfully. But you didn't because you never thought we could hack your systems. Surprise. All ships, this is your last chance, one announced on an open channel. Surrender now or be destroyed. Your doomsday weapon is useless. Your fleet is outnumbered. Your empire is already gone. Don't throw away lives for a government that lied to you. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then one ship broke formation and flew toward the human fleet with surrender signals flashing. Then another. Then 10 more. Then 100. R screamed at his remaining ships to hold position, but half his fleet had already surrendered. The people were done fighting for a government that had led them to ruin. The ships that remained loyal to R attacked. The Battle of Prime lasted 6 hours. Human ships, upgraded with the best of both human and technology, tore through the enemy fleet. Bin's engineering made them fast and deadly. Admiral's tactics made them coordinated and efficient. General Jinho's Marines boarded enemy ships and captured them intact. When the battle ended, R's flagship was the last ship still fighting. It was surrounded and damaged, unable to run. Surrender your ship, one ordered. Never, R replied. The Empire will never. His own officers stunned him with a shock weapon. A different appeared on screen, a military commander with exhaustion in his eyes. This is commander of the flagship. We surrender. Please, no more death. Agreed, one said. No more death. The war was over. One stood on the balcony of the former High Command building on Prime. Below him, hundreds of thousands of civilians gathered. They looked up at him with fear and curiosity. People of Prime, one said, his voice broadcast across the planet. The Empire is finished. Your government lied to you and led you into a war you couldn't win. They wanted to destroy humanity. Instead, they destroyed themselves. The crowd was silent, waiting. You are not our enemies. Your government was our enemy. Most of you never wanted this war. You were lied to and used. That ends today. The Empire is dissolved. These worlds will be placed under human administration for 100 years. During that time, you will rebuild. You will learn, and you will pay for what your government did. The terms are simple. All military assets are seized. All weapons research stops. You will pay reparations to humanity for 500 years, but in return you will be protected, fed, and treated fairly. Your children will go to school. Your sick will receive medicine. Your worlds will prosper. We are not here to enslave you. We are here to make sure this never happens again. Dr. Mi took control of integrating technology into human civilization. She established the Institute of Acquired Sciences, where human and scientists work together. The knowledge gained advanced humanity by centuries. Admiral became Grand Admiral of the expanded human fleet. With shipyards and technology, she built a military force that no one in the galaxy would dare challenge. General Jinho commanded the peacekeeping forces across the occupied worlds. His Marines kept order but also helped rebuild. They built schools and hospitals alongside guard towers. Bin continued improving ship designs, creating vessels that combined the best of both civilizations. Human reliability with elegance. Yang managed the information networks, making sure communication flowed freely but securely across the new territories. Captain Wu Jin took command of the border defense fleet, making sure no one would ever surprise humanity again. Became the overseer of compliance, making sure they followed their surrender terms. She was fair but firm. They respected her for it. The subject races that they had once ruled were given a choice: independence or alliance with humanity. Most chose alliance. They had seen how humanity treated even their defeated enemies. They wanted that kind of government for themselves. 5 years after the war ended, one visited the memorial wall on Adamant Prime. All 2.4 million names were carved into black stone. He touched the wall gently. "Did we do the right thing?" asked, standing beside him. "We did what we had to do," one replied. "They wanted to destroy us. We destroyed them instead. We took everything they had built over 3,000 years. Some people say we went too far." "And what do you say?" One was quiet for a moment. "I say we showed the galaxy what happens when you betray humanity. We don't forgive, we don't forget, but we also don't become monsters. Every world under our control is better off now than before. We gave them justice and prosperity. That's more than their own government ever did." 20 years after the war, Young, who had grown up under human administration, barely remembered the old empire. They learned human languages in school. They worked alongside humans in factories and research labs. They didn't see humans as conquerors. To them, this was just normal life. The older had mixed feelings. Some resented the occupation. Others admitted that life was better now. There was less corruption, more opportunity, and actual justice. The high command had ruled through fear. Humanity ruled through fairness. 50 years after the war, the former territories were fully integrated into the human commonwealth. A new generation had grown up knowing only peace and cooperation. They were still in culture and biology, but they were also citizens of the commonwealth. They had the same rights and opportunities as humans. Historians debated whether humanity's response had been just or excessive. Some said taking an entire empire was too harsh. Others pointed out that they had intended to do much worse to humanity. The debate continued. But across the galaxy, one thing was certain. Everyone knew what happened when you deceived humanity in war. The story spread to every corner of known space. Other alien civilizations heard about the mighty empire that had stood for 3,000 years and how humanity had taken it apart in just 2 years. No one would ever try to betray humanity again. Commander One, now an old man, returned to Earth for the last time. He stood before the unified government and gave his final report. "The war is over. The mission is complete. The empire is gone. Humanity is safe. We took everything they had just as I promised. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but for justice and security. They deceived us in war, so we took everything they had. And in doing so, we ensured that no one will ever make that mistake again." The government gave him a standing ovation. One accepted it quietly, then went home. He had done what needed to be done. The cost had been high, but humanity had survived. More than survived, they had become the dominant power in the sector. On his wall, he kept a small piece of the memorial from Adamant Prime. On it was carved the phrase that summed up everything: "They taught us that mercy has limits." And so humanity learned. They could still be kind, still be fair, still prefer peace, but they would never again be deceived. They would never again trust blindly, and if someone betrayed that trust, humanity would show them the cost. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was kind until you weren't, and when humanity stopped being kind, they were unstoppable.